Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all doing good. It's your girl in the house. Very late, but I'm very excited to be here. And I hope that you're all doing good. Happy Thursday. Almost the end of another amazing week. And let's thank God for how far we have come and all the amazing things that He continues to do day in, day out in our lives. This week, Counsellor Charlotte and her husband have been trending like for days now. Everybody has had one opinion or the other about her and her marriage and divorce and her teachings and why she wasn't able to take her own medicine when she was busy dishing out all kinds of advice to women, especially in the very beginning of the things that she used to say publicly on social media. As always, this platform is one where we learn and we take valuable lessons from people's situations so that we can be better people and do things right. Sister Felicia, how are you doing? Good morning. Mr. Israel, how are you? So before we start all of this off, who is this counselor that everybody is making so much noise about? She's married, or she was married. The marriage lasted 16 years. She's a Ghanaian marriage counselor, married to a pastor. And apparently she's a pastor herself as well, with 3 children. After 16 years, her marriage has sadly ended. And this has caused so much controversy. People have said all kinds of things on social media. So yesterday and the day before that, I was wondering, what is all this fuss about her not being married anymore? What is this all about? And so what? She's divorced. She's just another human being like any single one of us. Why the noise being made about her specifically not being able to keep her marriage? But all of this has to do with all of the things that she had said on social media. It's why people are coming back to bite her on the bum for what she said. Good morning to everybody. Akanji, how are you doing? Fumi, good morning. Sister Rose, good morning. Felicia, my sister, how are you doing? Nana, good morning to everybody. And so she said all kinds of things, gave all sorts of advice. In fact, about 3 years ago, I remember coming across one of her videos where she was talking about women submitting. And it really, really rubbed me up the wrong way. And I decided never to watch any of her teachings ever again. Because submission is that kind of thing that is in scripture and about marriage, but people have different interpretations about what it means to submit. And my own spin on those things is this. The Bible says that women should submit to their husbands, right? Now, in order for you as a person to be able to submit to another, you have to be discerning in who you're choosing so that it's easier for you to submit to them. What do I mean? If you're a married woman or a woman who is looking to get married to somebody, you want to choose somebody that you know would protect you, you know possesses you, you know provides for you, or is in the position to be able to provide, profess, and protect you. Every woman would be able to submit to a man that she feels safe, that will look after her, protect her interests, ensure she's safe, provide for her, and who praises and professes her. It's so much easier for women to submit to men that are like that. How is a woman going to be able to submit to a man like that? It is down to you, the woman, to make sure that whoever you're choosing to be the king, the CEO of your home, is somebody that you respect to be the leader of your home. Somebody that you can trust, that no matter what happens in your marriage, that man is going to be there and be the captain of your ship. What tends to happen in a lot of cases is that it seems like some of our brothers don't even know what position and authority they have. And you see, with position comes responsibility. Some of them want all the titles and the man of the house and the man of the house. But being the man of the house comes with responsibilities also. And if you're not prepared to do those, responsibility side of things, how can a woman really submit to your authority? I don't know if I'm making sense to somebody here. Like, you want to be the CEO of a company, but you also have to understand that all the employees that you are CEOing over, you are responsible for their livelihoods. You are responsible for making sure that they grow and are able to perform their functions properly. If you don't have what it takes to be the leader and spearhead your ship where it needs to go to safely dock, it is difficult for the people, the deputy CEO and the secretary and all the other employees to submit to your authority. They're not going to sit around and watch you, take the ship to drowning. People will jump off. People will make noise if that is not happening. And so to me, the whole premise of this whole submission thing that everybody makes so much noise about depends on you wanting to be CEO and equally understanding the responsibilities that come with being the commander-in-chief of your household. If you can't profess your wife, respect her, adore her, take care of her, make her feel good about herself, if you can't protect her, ensure that, her best interests are at hand all of the time, if you can't provide for her, that she can totally, let her guard down and feel safe in your arms, it is difficult for that person to be able to submit to your authority. If you see your wife as a threat, if you see your wife's success as a threat, it is difficult for this whole thing about submission to be able to take place. And so we women have a responsibility before we get into marriages to make sure that we are choosing kings that we can respect and willfully submit to. We can't put that blame only on the brother's head. We women, because we make ourselves look like we are just there to be chosen. No, it's a two-way street. If somebody proposes to you and you don't think that this person has my growth, my progress, my best interest at heart, you have that responsibility to say, look, I don't think this is going to work. So let's just go our separate ways and live our lives differently. Nobody catches you for doing that. But if you allow yourself to be coerced into something, then you can't blame anybody for the consequences of those ramifications. And so I've watched a lot of videos, and one of the things that really shed a lot of light on this counselor and what's really happened and all of that is an interview that she herself granted about a year ago with somebody in Ghana who, interviews people, and he's called Abeku Santana. It's on YouTube. You can go find that video and you can watch the interview. It really, breaks it down for you to really understand what has happened and why we are where we are today. A lot of people seem to be surprised that her marriage has ended. But when you listen to her, when you listen to the things that she was talking about, and in later life, like in the last 2 years, that the messaging has changed. Because when she came into the limelight, she was all, bashing and attacking women. And, she said all kinds of outrageous things that sometimes when she said it herself, and I read body language a lot. And when I looked at her, I'm like, even she herself, what she's saying, she doesn't believe it, let alone is in a position to be able to do it. She said all manner of horrific things that don't make any sense. Like, if you're a woman and your husband, you find that your husband is cheating, go and take a chair and sit down and wait for him to do what he's doing with that other woman. And when he's done, take your thing home, go and bathe him and clean his down below and feed him and pamper him and give him good, bedmatics, and then it will make him stay with you. I'm like, there are some women who are prepared to do everything for their husbands, but if the man is promiscuous, he is simply promiscuous. No amount of loving on him and caring for him and hugging him is going to stop somebody who has purposed in their mind that one woman is not enough for them to be a deterrent for doing that. There are some people, regardless of how well you treat them, they still will cheat because they believe in the core of their soul that one woman is not enough for them. They have to have farm and so many other gardens out there. She bashed a lot of women, and a lot of women are up in arms against her now because it is now apparent that all of those things that she was teaching, she herself, she wasn't able to live up to them. And so people are asking the question, well, if you're talking all these things about us being able to pamper our husbands and staying in the marriage at all cost and all that, why is it that you are divorcing? Why didn't you take your own medicine that you were so freely dishing out to everybody else? And sometimes I feel like people say things sometimes just to please the Joneses. This woman was the wife of a pastor. And so she felt that if she came on social media publicly and started talking about marriage, as if to suggest that you are able to leave it under certain circumstances, she was going to face public backlash. And so that was how she had to portray herself to be, position herself in that manner, so that she can please all the, Crife and the Christians and those Holy Ghost fire people. But at the end of the day, we demonize divorce as if, it's something people do lightly. Like you just wake up one day, you spend so much money getting married, you've invested yourself in that marriage. But sometimes, irreconcilable differences can make it out that it is probably better that you live apart because it's impossible for you to be able to see reason in the same home. And whilst I'm not an advocate of divorce, let's just get divorced at the drop of a hat. No. But there are certain circumstances where that is just the best thing to do, because keeping those people under the same roof means that one or both people are going to be unalive, because then that relationship has obviously become very toxic. And so I listened to this interview and I was forming my own impressions about what has happened. Counsellor Charlotte is very vocal. She has an opinion and she would express that opinion. Now, what she said was that she didn't really like the man when she married him. For the first 8 years of their marriage, it was really a struggle. And this is why. This woman went to school. Yeah, she came from a rough home. She did all kinds of things to be able to fund her education. But the fact about it is that she went to Polytechnic and did civil engineering. So she got some kind of certification from the Polytechnic and started working in feeder roads and urban roads in Ghana. These are departments that help in construction of roads, before she decided to marry this pastor, up and coming new pastor, who was also trying to set up his ministry. And she said that she was a church girl, but, she wasn't that deep in the faith that much until towards the end of her Polytechnic schooling. She had an encounter with the Lord when she went to church. And that is how this whole thing about being married all came up. But she didn't really, she didn't like the guy. The guy had accused her of taking his phone, and it turned out that it wasn't his, at a church event, and so she was very upset that he was indirectly accusing her of taking the phone. So when they got together and were trying to see this marriaging thing, she wasn't really a fan of it. Now, the $1 million question is this, like when you get with somebody that you can see from the get-go that you are not gelling, don't allow anybody or anything to push you into thinking that you can make this marriage work, because it's just dead before it even started. Hello, Miss Michelle. How are you doing? I miss you so much. I haven't seen you in a long time. We need to catch up, darling. Emily, how are you? Sister Audrey. Renee, how are you? Wow, it's been ages, brother. How are you doing? Good morning to everybody. And so, you know, she went to school, she finished her polytechnic education, and then she started working for a bit. So now she's making her own money and making her own financial decisions. Then she gets with this up-and-coming pastor who is now trying to form his own church, and they get married. Now, if you know anything about civil engineering, you would know that road construction is not a one-day thing. You could be put on a project that is in some remote place that is not close enough to your home. And when you're gone for a long time, because there's so many things that have to happen. Surveying, you know, they have to check the materials that they're using to construct the road. There's excavation, there's surveying, then there's compacting, there's this, there's that. Then they now put whatever surfacing they have to put on those roads. It's a long process. And so as somebody with an engineering background, she was out a lot looking into projects for a long period of time. And she didn't think that that was going to help her young up-and-coming marriage to a pastor who is trying to form a church. Just imagine the dynamics here. She's now Osofumami. She's the wife of a pastor. The church is expecting that she will be there to support her husband to build the church. Now here she is, she's an engineer trying to get out there on site with guys and, you know, doing surveying and all kinds of things. How is that going to work? And so she said it herself that she sacrificed her career for her marriage, because she couldn't be away for long periods of time and leave the husband alone to form his church. So she gave up her career. She had to put that whole engineering thing to one side and become lady pastor, following her husband to flock their new sheep that they're trying to get. And in doing so, it wasn't easy, because this guy wasn't made out of money. He was a young guy from very humble beginnings. Didn't really go to school that much. He finished JSS. He didn't continue because there was no money, according to him. Now, don't forget, she has a polytechnic degree. He is a JSS, junior secondary school dropout, that has learned a trade and is now wanting to get into ministry. There's no money. So the beginning of their marriage was a struggle, both financially and otherwise. Sometimes where to sleep was a problem, what to feed. And they had a young family. Now children are coming into the dynamic. It was hard. When women put themselves into positions like that, where they have to choose between marriage and career, and they give up their career, they don't do that willingly. A lot of times it's begrudgingly. And so when things are not happening, when financing is not there, when the life that they once had has been taken away from them just because of marriage, there comes a time where any sane person begins to react, because there's no money. Imagine a young family, you're an engineer, you can buy what you want, you can afford a certain kind of lifestyle. And now you're with this broke pastor that is now forming. How would it be? Like, let's put ourselves in that whole context. It helps you to understand what has happened. And so there were lots of tensions, lots of fights, lots of arguments, and she's a very vocal person. And she herself admitted that she had bouts when she would get really angry, provoke the guy to react, because he was always the quiet type and didn't say anything. Some of the things she did, I can't even begin to believe that she made herself do that, but she did. She told in the interview that there came a time when she punched the guy in his privates just to get a reaction. She wanted to do something that would hurt him so she would get a reaction. Because according to her, the guy never spoke. He was always just quiet, very docile, very laid back, very quiet, very prayerful. Everything is holy, holy. Let's pray and all of this. She is bubbly. She wants to be hugged and kissed in public. She wants to feel like, the new girl on the block that is married a pastor. He didn't want to express emotion and, all the kissing, lovey-dovey thing out there. But she wanted it to be public and she wasn't getting that. So there was a lot of tension in the starting of their marriage. For 8 years, she said she left several times. Uncountable times, she would leave the home, pack her things, take her children to go and live in her brother's apartment. Why did she leave? Because she said she felt that she was being a burden to the pastor. Like they weren't agreeing. There was so much, communication wasn't effective. She wanted, to discuss things, and his approach is just to be quiet. You can just imagine how frustrating that will be. The long and short of this whole thing is that from the very beginning, it would appear that those two people were not compatible. That's my own humble opinion, for what it's worth. They were not compatible. They couldn't see eye to eye. And so that made me question, why did they even get married to begin with? Who pushed them into marriage? And I don't know the ins and outs of it. And this is my own inference from all that I heard. This is not what she said. This is my interpretation. You see, when you get involved in ministry and you hang around, the holy people, the papas and mamas of spirituality in the house, my spiritual father, my spiritual mother, and all of that. And you are submitting to somebody else's authority in a bigger church. What tends to happen is that whoever the head pastor is trying to protect his assets, the church. So they are there living their flamboyant life a lot of the times, but they want to keep their junior pastors and the headship of whatever divisions of their church in check. And one of the big scandals normally is somebody slept with somebody that they're not married to and all this thing. It has the potential of blowing up the church. So what tends to happen is that the head pastor wants junior pastor to marry choir director or youth leader or whatever, so that, you guys, once you're married, you can't go and do anything out there. Right? You have to stay married. So it would appear to me, and I could be wrong, this is just me, inferring from what she said, that perhaps they were coerced into being married. People thought, oh, this is nice, pastor. It looks like you also have a calling on your life. So you guys should get together. This is going to be the perfect marriage. But it wasn't. It was anything but that. And this brings me nicely to what I want to talk about today. That is, do not allow papas and mamas and prayer warrior and the pastor of your church or anybody to coerce you into marrying any particular person when you know in your heart of hearts that you cannot gel with those people. Just because your spiritual father said they saw in the realms of the spirit that you guys will make a happy couple. If God hasn't spoken to you yourself and you haven't had that revelation yourself, I think you should wait till you have that revelation for yourself. Because you're getting married on somebody else's suggestion that marriage is what you should do. When in actual fact, there's no conviction on your part that this guy is going to be a good guy for me, that this woman is going to be a good woman for me to marry. And so Charlotte herself, she said it, that she wasn't the nicest of people to her husband. She did a lot of things to him in anger, to provoke him. She was frustrated in the marriage. And so she did all kinds of things. She said it herself that she disrespected the guy. And how can you submit to somebody you don't even respect? How is that possible? How are you going to happily, go beneath and be the second best to somebody that you don't respect. Some of the things she was saying in the interview is like, me with all my education, marrying somebody who, is a school dropout, and we don't see eye to eye. The educational level, the intellect, the IQ is not the same. And when she was trying to, when this whole thing about the ministry of counseling came up, it got to a point where, from what she was saying, it looked like the guy wasn't feeling confident in himself. It's like, but this is the wife. Why is it that the wife that is the one that is in the limelight, and me, I'm just on the sidelines? My wife is what everybody is talking about, household name, sensation, but me, nobody is seeing me. When you don't have self-esteem for yourself, like you don't value your own self, you don't see yourself that you're a priceless jewel or diamond, whether it's a man or woman, and you're married to somebody that is out there, oftentimes the temptation is great for there to be conflict, because in our African setting, we've been programmed and wired into thinking that the man always has to be the one in the limelight. He is the one that has to shine all of the time. But God chooses whom he blesses. In some relationships, it might be that the man is a great man too, but he is kind of like in the backstage. And it's the wife that is out there, flamboyant for everybody to see. In those kinds of situations, if the man doesn't have the cojones and the balls to be able to deal with this woman that they have, irrespective of whatever fame she has, it causes conflicts. And so I repeat myself again. If you're just joining this video, we women have a responsibility in choosing the right lifetime partner that we can submit to. Submission meaning that you're choosing somebody that you believe can protect you, your interest, and everything that you come with, and not be jealous of who you are, so that you can be yourself around them. A man that you can submit to, who you know professes you, they love you, they adore you for who you are, just the way you are, and are not trying to change you to be something else that you're not. You have a big mouth, you can open that big mouth, and they feel fine about that and will provide for you. So in those down days, when I'm not working, when I've lost my job, when I can't contribute to our household, I trust this man that I'm calling the CEO of my home to get out there and provide for me and the children. If you're marrying somebody that you can't respect, that they're going to be the head and really take you, channel you on the right course to an acceptable destination, because don't marry. Because if you pick other things, how handsome he is, how well the bedmatics go, and all of those things, it fails. If you allow spiritual papa and spiritual mama to tell you that, oh, I saw this vision of you guys together and the marriage was so amazing and I think you guys will make good couples together and you should marry, when you know full well that you're not even able to provide for your own self, not alone to talk about somebody else coming into your life, don't marry. Yesterday, I was chatting to one of my friends last night, and he was telling me how he used to be in a church and he was the youth leader. And there was this woman or lady in the church who was a spiritual prayer warrior, praying, yes, all the tongues and all the whatever. There's a head pastor that oversees the church that he was a part of. And at a young age, 19, 20, 21, early 20, he hasn't even found his feet. He hasn't gone to university. He doesn't know where his daily bread is coming from. He is, relying on his parents, mother, to feed him. And this pastor is insinuating that, no, you need to marry early. You need to marry that woman. I see it in the realms of the spirit. You guys will make a good couple together. Why? Youth director marrying prayer warrior. It's a good fit for him as the head of his church. He's made it for himself. He has a good life. You know, the church is churching and there are lots of people coming. They are seeking their interest. The head pastor doesn't care how, after you get married, where you're going to find the money from to be able to look after your wife. All he cares about is what will look good for the church. People always have ulterior motives, a lot of the time, for wanting you to do certain things. If we don't apply wisdom and we allow other people to talk us into doing things that doesn't make any sense to you yourself, you always end up doing things or putting yourself into positions that upset you. Hello, Sister Vicky. How are you doing? I hope you're doing good. Lamine, how are you doing? At the end of the day, it is important that you yourself as an individual, if you're claiming to be Christian, know this God for yourself. Ask this God to talk to you yourself. Why is it that God talks to this person, but me, God is not talking to me? Whatever you need to do to hear that voice from God for yourself, hear it for yourself. Don't marry anybody because the head pastor says you make a good couple. Whatever that head pastor saw, ask God to let you see it yourself so that you can be convinced and convicted that that is what you're supposed to be doing. And so in my opinion, from what I saw, watching all those interviews of old, both from him and from her, it seems as if they were just this young couple. It suited everybody that they were married so that they can start this church and, you know, there won't be any scandal. But it doesn't seem like these people were even compatible. She's a different kind of personality, and he is a very different kind of personality. He is more toned down. Even in his talking, is very, you know, soft, and she is more of the out there sort of person. The two of them were just not agreeing. And she admitted that communication broke down. When she wants to express herself and feel like she's being heard, he wants to pray. To the point that she said that when they got married, on the night of the wedding, when normal couples will be honeymooning, you know, that's the first time for those who are virgins to, you know, seal the deal. She was looking for her husband everywhere, and the husband was nowhere to be found. And he spent the next 50 days sleeping on the church pulpit because he's seeking the face of God. Like, is that the time to seek the face of God? You have a new bride, a new home that you're forming. And so she was very disappointed by that because she's been exposed to things, right? She wanted to feel the love, like she's a new bride, husband and wife. Let's do things now. This man is praying for 50 days. Why is the honeymoon? Why is the time alone? Why is the time to start, you know, expressing and sharing this love to make you feel good about yourself in the marriage, in the beginning? So, yeah, seek the face of God, but it seems like she wasn't ready for that life of being a pastor's wife and all the sacrifices that she has to make. Don't forget that she had already sacrificed her career. She put her engineering career on hold to be Osofumami, to be the head, the wife of a pastor of an up-and-coming new church with financial issues on top of everything. So the money is not coming. You're not understanding each other. Financial stress is taking place. You're talking to this man who doesn't want to, you know, to engage in that. He wants to pray more. It's a hot mess. Very frustrating. And in those down days, when things are really hard for you, when you're struggling as a couple, it can be the most lonely time of your lives. Because all the forces from hell are attacking you, and there's nobody to even confide in because you're Usofumami, you're the mama of the church. Who are you going to tell that your marriage isn't going well, you're not happy? Who is even going to believe you? Because on Sunday, you look the perfect part. You know, you're all dressed up. Your husband is there. He's full of the Holy Spirit and he's prophesying and he's doing all kinds of things. So people think that, the mama of the house is very happy. Things are going well. But oftentimes, there's a lot of turmoil behind closed doors. I think pastors' wives are the most miserable people because they sacrifice everything, including their privacy and time with their spouses, in the name of ministry. And they hardly have anybody that is in a position to be able to hold them, comfort them, encourage them, pray for them, and help them in that space. So there's this young engineer who has now been thrown herself into ministry wife with no money and kids on the way. It's a hot mess. She did all kinds of things. She says she disrespected her husband. And, openly, some of the things that she was saying about him made him feel like, he's Mr. Nobody. Because me, I'm me. And you are you. And who are you? And you come from a poor background. You didn't even go to school. And all of that. It was really, rocking the guy in the wrong way. And making him feel Mr. Nobody married to Mrs. Somebody. And it hurt. You can tell that on both sides, both people were not content in that marriage. The guy's interview with Zion Felix, he was saying how miserable he was in the marriage. And so whilst I'm not here advocating for divorce, sometimes irreconcilable differences will make out that it seems like it is just impossible for two people to be able to agree and to live under the same roof amicably. A lot of the things that Reverend Charlotte said, the counselor said to women, honestly, was awful. Because she was insinuating that when you're a woman and you live in a marriage and your husband is cheating and bringing all these venereal diseases into your household, you should stay at all costs. But when you're 6 foot under, who's going to look after your children? If you've prayed about it, you've talked about it, and this man insists that he isn't going to change, must I come and lose my life in the name of marriage? Question. Should marriage be the be-all and end-all that even when you're physically, emotionally, or sexually abused, whether man or woman, that you should stay in it till it takes your life, because that is what is going to guarantee you a place in heaven? I personally don't believe that. I don't believe that the Savior of the universe is so cruel that when you've gotten into something that is not serving you, that he's going to think that you must remain in it. For better, for worse. You just have to stay regardless. In this situation, now it's become apparent that they had even been apart for 3 whole years. So all those times when she was out there and saying all the things that she was saying to upset some women, in fact, all women, because a lot of the things she was saying, she herself, she wasn't even going to be capable of doing it. I know any sane woman, whether it's born of Mother Teresa or Mary herself, that can see the husband sleeping with some other woman, and you go and sit there and wait for them to finish, and then you take the man to the bathroom and wash his dingling and everything else, feed him and say, hey, I'm lying here, come and give me some. I don't know anybody who's capable of doing that. It doesn't make any sense. That person must be born from heaven. It must be Jesus himself. Excuse my blasphemy, but that's it. There is no human being that I know born of a woman and a man that is capable of doing that. If you're capable, raise your hand. I don't know anybody. I definitely know I ain't doing that. I am not going to sit there and watch my husband sleep with some other woman and come back and I'm going to bathe you and feed you and say, come and give me some. It's not going to happen. So there was a lot of things that she was saying that was not saying. And then it looked like the story kind of changed. The messaging changed. Now she started talking about men and the fact that, you shouldn't be married at all costs. You have to, if you're not married, you have to make sure that you're paying attention to what you're deciding before you get married. The messaging was now sort of becoming, mainstream, what you would hear other reasonable people talk about. So the big question is, what was all of that about? Because people are making noise about her and her divorce and all of this because of those outrageous teachings that she was giving women. That was highly unhelpful. That must have put a lot of emotional stress on a lot of women that were seriously dealing with, deep issues in their marriage. And I find that sometimes when you haven't had the opportunity of experiencing something in your life, in your own marriage, or in your life, just generally, you can say whatever the hell you like. Oh, I don't like makeup. Makeup is devilish. Makeup is this. And then the next thing we see, you are making up. You are wearing wig. You painting your face. It kind of sets the tone for double standards. You're either this or you're that. And social media is never forgiving. Everything that you say at the right time comes back to bite you in your nyash when you're least expecting it to do that on both sides. And so I have always said that, look, if there is a time and a space and it is at all possible for married couples to be able to deal with their issues outside of the limelight, that is what has to happen. She said it openly with her interview with Abeku Santana. It's on YouTube. Go watch it. That counselors talk about the things that they're experiencing in their own marriage. That was a big eye-opener. Because it means that all of the things that she was saying were things that she has experienced. I don't know whether it was all with this guy or whether it was with somebody else, but experiencing, nonetheless, her own words. And so at the end of the day, marriage is not an easy thing to be entered into with any kind of deception. A lot of us think that the wedding is, the marriage is like the wedding day. When you're in your white dress and you're looking all pretty, the guy is in his tuxedo and he looks all handsome and everybody is there and all the attention is on the two of you. That is just one day out of the rest of your lives together. If God is not the center of your marriage, if the two of you do not see things from a general space together, that marriage is in serious trouble. When somebody is light and the other one is darkness, how is it going to happen? To me, personally, those people were just simply not compatible in any way, shape, or form and should have never gotten married. And she said it, that, sometimes you marry somebody and later on you find that you've made a grave mistake. There's so many people today, if you had your time all over again, you probably wouldn't marry the man or woman you're married to now. A lot of people are just managing. You wish that you had paid attention to those red flags a bit more. Those things that you thought you could change in marriage, you wish you had paid more attention to them. But now it seems like it's too late and you're not able to do that. And so, honey, all that I'm saying today is this, is that a lot of people are bashing her, and I get the bashing. She put herself in that position for a lot of the horrible things that she was teaching women to do, which was unrealistic. And she herself, by what is happening now, wasn't even able to live by herself. But let's look at this even more critically. This is a classic example for us all to learn lessons from, that don't marry somebody that you can't respect, you don't have reverence for, whose authority you can't submit to because you don't believe that they can protect you, they can profess you, and they can provide for you. Don't marry that guy, because you're always going to have these kinds of issues. She didn't see the guy as her co-equal. She's an engineer in her own right, married to JSS dropout. She said it herself. So she didn't think that this was somebody worth submitting to. And if the foundations of anything isn't right, is wrong, is weak, trust me, as an engineer myself, the superstructure fails. If you're building a house and you put the foundation, there's no reinforcement, no metal work, and you just build blocks, and you want to put up a 6-story building. The metal works that goes into a single story can never be the same as the metal work that goes into the foundation of a 6-story building. The higher the load, the higher the reinforcement that is required. So from the very beginning, the woman says, I didn't even like him. I hated his guts. He used to piss me off. Because we started the whole relationship with him accusing me indirectly of taking his phone. So I didn't like him that much. Why are you marrying somebody you can't stand? Why? Question. When you see that the gelling is not gelling, there are no common ground spaces for you with whoever you're with. You're the lovey-dovey type. You like expressing your love publicly out there. And you're marrying somebody who is the opposite, who wants everything to be done behind closed doors. He can't hug you in public. He doesn't want anybody to talk about you because he's, the holy of holies. It is hard because you can't change who you are. If you're expressive of love, that is just who you are. If you're marrying somebody who cannot satisfy that for you, you're always going to feel like there is something missing that you haven't gotten, that you need to go get. It is hard. And marriage is not any easy thing, like I've said 1 billion times. You have to be ready mentally, spiritually, physically, financially, before you even venture into that thing called marriage, because it's hard. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's not something to be entered into as a joke, because it ain't that. It is hard work. And it's not just one person's work to do. Both parties have to be invested in committing to making that marriage work. If it becomes one person's job, you are going to be really struggling in your marriage. If the wife is the one that is carrying the burden to make sure the marriage works, everybody gets tired at some point. If the man is the only one praying that this marriage, even though I see that it is falling, even though I walk through the shadow of the valley of death, I'll fear no evil, it will not work. It won't work. It takes the two people committing to do whatever it takes to make it stand, for it to stand. It is hard. And so let's not be surprised that the fact that somebody is a marriage counselor, that they are somehow immune to all the things that come against marriage, to fight marriage and for marriage to end. But the whole beginning is that give yourself a fighting chance of survival. Choosing the chief, the CEO, the king of your home that you can submit to, that you can respect, that you can trust to provide, protect, and profess you as the wife. That is not anybody's responsibility, my sister. It is your responsibility to make sure that it happens. If you're here and you haven't shared this video, you're not my friend, please share this video. And I want to have a comment, like a whole sentence from you, telling me how you feel about what I've said so far. Doesn't make any sense. Is it jiving with you? Or am I just, out of it and not saying anything that makes sense? I want to hear from you. Please type a comment. It is all those things, the engagement, the things that you say, the love hearts that have suddenly stopped coming. It's like, you don't love me anymore. Why are you doing this to me? Right? I'm not seeing any red love hearts pop up my screen. Those things, it makes me very excited that I'm actually talking to people in real time. So please, can I have some love hearts? Sister Elizabeth, Sister Annie, Sister Sarah, Mr. Kennedy, can I have some love hearts, please? I'm not seeing any. I'm not seeing anything on my screen. It's like I'm just talking to myself. Please, can I have me some love hearts? Is what I'm saying resonating? Is it making sense? What do you think? And if it does, please share this video. And so I'm not here this morning to try and bash this woman. No, that's not why I'm here. She did say some things that were very outrageous. And I've seen a lot of people asking her to apologize for the things that she said, because they were very disrespectful to women, and she tried to rubbish people's real, true feelings. And a lot of people are mad at her for that. I get it. But having said that, this was a marriage that was struggling. For people to be separated for 3 whole years, whilst portraying that they're a couple, that should tell you it's been hard on both sides. The man was not happy. The wife was not happy. They were not happy, period. And now, alas, they're going their separate ways. I've seen a lot of commentary about, maybe the man chose this time to say it because he's preparing a new Osofumami. Whatever it is, who cares? The fact is that this was just disaster before it even started. And whilst people are bashing and saying all the things we're saying, is the lessons for me that we all need to pick a thing out of. In choosing your husband, is this a man that I can trust to look after me? Is this a man that will provide, profess, protect my interests, want to see me do well, and not be jealous when I start to shine? Would he accept that I'm his wife? And so whatever good comes to me is for the common good of the home. And me, as the woman, I also need to make sure that I'm choosing a man that I can respect for who he is, that he's going to, paddle our ship to safe landing, and give the person that you want to call your husband somebody that you can see as your co-equal and are able to be respectful to. If we just pick anybody, just because the ministry, but then the sacrifice that has to be made is insurmountable, and you're not prepared to make that sacrifice, it becomes very hard. Because marriage itself is not that easy. 2 different people raised differently, trying to make a life for themselves. When people marry because they have different temperaments, it can be very difficult. People say, I like poles attract and all of that. Yeah. But that person that you're with, whether man or woman, are they prepared to accept you for who you are and for all that you come with? Because you can't pretend to be somebody else the rest of your life. It's hard. Like me, I am me. I can't be anything else but me. And so if you're a man that is coming into my life and you can't love me for me, it's going to be very, very difficult. Know what you're buying. And be sure that what you're buying, the shoe that you're buying, is not going to pinch your toes before you buy it. It's as simple as that. That's why you go shoe shopping and you put your feet in it. Make sure that it fits. You can wear it. It's okay. You can walk in it before you buy the shoe. If you are not comfortable with somebody, don't allow ministry, mama and papa in the church, to coerce you into marrying anybody that you yourself haven't heard God tell you you should marry. Don't allow somebody to use their vision, superimpose their visions on you, and for you to go along with it and cry foul later. Sister Amma, how are you doing? Sister Nadia, good morning. Sister Rita, good morning. Tunde, good morning to everybody. So on both sides, both man and woman, choose your queens and your kings right. Don't come and cry foul later. Choose people that feel comfortable around you, because you can't pretend for the rest of your life. You can't do it. When the foundation is wrong, the superstructure, it doesn't survive. There's been a lot of hurt on both sides. And so I am actually very happy that, and actually contented that this has brought an end to all of that. Now they can both get out there and fly and be who they were, made to be. Because all this pretense and all of this, it was like it was killing them softly. I'm happy that it's had this outcome. Sadly and unfortunately, not every marriage makes it to the finish line. And it's about time we normalize that kind of conversation and stop demonizing divorce as if, it's the worst possible thing that you could do. You're going to burn in hell because you are not married to whoever anymore. Some people can start off a contract with you with certain terms and conditions, and you sign under the dotted line or on the dotted line because of those terms and conditions being in place. When things change, it's not the same contract anymore. And so when you try to go back to the original conditions and it's not conditioning, people change over time. People evolve over time. People's priorities change. And sometimes you can't go through that change together. It's like different directions now. I want this, you want that. It's not going to work. So unfortunately, in order to be safe, in order for us to stay alive and be able to provide for our children, in order for us to, grow apart, that is, unfortunately, sometimes necessary. And I'm not here by any means advocating for divorce. Some of these people in this house, I know how social media, Sika is there encouraging divorce and saying that people, if it's not working, you should go your separate ways. That is not what I'm saying. But I am saying that when it's getting to that point of toxicity, these people the woman says she left the marriage several times for long periods of time. It meant that it just wasn't gelling. It wasn't happening. She wasn't happy. She wasn't contented. She left she felt like she sacrificed everything. And for what? And this whole expectations of Usofumami thing, it was stifling her. She felt like she was choking. She couldn't be herself. You have to tie your hair. You can't wear makeup. You have to do this. You have to do that. That was not her. Marry somebody that you can be your original, authentic self around. Don't just choose people for the sake of choosing. Oh, I'm alone. I'm 40. I'm single. I'm 35. I'm single. I'm 50. I'm single. There has to be somebody in my life. So you just choose anybody. It won't work. It backfires. Marry somebody that you can be yourself around, that loves you with everything that you come with, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. And is prepared to weather the storms of life with you. Because you both have your eyes and vision in the same direction, regardless of how you approach it. If you don't do that, it is doomed to fail before it even began. And that's my messaging. She is trending because of the things that she said. But now I pray that both of them can finally have peace and move on with their life apart. Sometimes loving somebody alone is not enough. And finally, they can all be out there and fly and do the things that they need to do. Marriage is not the end all and be all. It's not always the thing. It's not always as rosy as it is made out to be. Please share this video. Please, for the love of God, share this video. I beg you. And I want to hear what you have to say. There'll be no comments, no love hearts, no nothing. Like, really, this is a tough crowd today. Like, nobody is loving on me. But I'm about to go because I have to get to work. But I will leave this here by saying this. Deciding who you want to spend the rest of your life with takes a lot. It's a lot of things that you need to consider. Marrying because somebody prays a lot is not good enough. Marrying because, he's a cool guy, he's in ministry, it's not good enough. When one party feels that they have to give up everything in order to marriage to survive, it's not good enough. The sacrifice has to seem to come from both sides. And if one person has to be the one that has sacrificed the most, they need to be made to feel that that sacrifice has been taken into account and is being regarded. When it's not, it is hard. The man kept saying he felt that she didn't want to submit to me and she didn't respect me, blah, blah, blah. Why did you marry somebody that you know cannot respect you the way you want to be respected? Why? And so a lot of us, if we own up to it, we've made a lot of mistakes in choosing who we've chosen. Our marriages are on life support and we are just managing on life support. But a lot of us want to pretend as if our own marriage is the best marriage. It is hard work. It really, truly is. And if you don't pick the right person to do that hard work with, you struggle. Choose right. No compromises. Take on board the things that mean something to you. If you're a PhD holder and you think that you can only respect a man who also has a PhD, because don't go and marry JSS dropouts. Don't do that. And think that somehow you can make it work. Because if the JSS dropout doesn't have that self-esteem big enough, whether it's a man or woman, to contain the fact that you are up there in education and this one is here, you always have issues. A word to the wise is enough. I love you all so much. Modupe, how are you this morning? Sister Dayo, Hamida, Elisa, Ginny, good morning to everybody, but Seeker's got to run. Please let me know what you think about what I've said today. It's unfortunate that it's had this ending, but this ending is what it had to be, in my opinion. And now they can both go on and live their lives to the fullest of their abilities. And I wish them all the best and hope that they can navigate this thing and look after their children apart, amicably. They are not enemies. It just didn't work for marriage. It's as simple as that. I love you so much. God bless you. Stay beautiful and handsome. And just think about what I've said. And if you disagree, I want to know. If you agree, I want to know. God bless you. I love you. Take care of you. Bye.